2025 fast where we want to prioritize Christ at the beginning of the year that we might see him work throughout the entire year. And so as we come in, I'm going to read a passage in just a moment from Ezra chapter 8, starting in verse 21. So if you wanted to grab a Bible and read along with me, you can. We have a couple verses there. But I had read an article back from 2020 about doomsday preppers. The article had stated that there were about 3.7 million people in America who are identified as preppers. And so there was this part of the article was talking about how, people want to be ready for the apocalypse. They want to be ready for everything falling apart. They want to be prepared for the end. And the way that they do that is to make sure that they have access to food and water and shelter and clothing and power and all that kind of stuff. There was this one thing that they'd mentioned in the article that was fascinating to me. It was an item called the Ready Prep 2000 food kit. The Ready Prep 2000 food kit provided 12 full months of balanced nutrition for a single person. It cost about $3,700, and all you do, you have all this stuff, and you add water to reconstitute it, so it's all freeze-dried, and it has a shelf life of 27 years. So for $3,700, you could put away a supply of food that would give you a balanced nutritional intake and you might not need it for 26 years, but if on year 27 the apocalypse happened, then you've got food for a full 12-month cycle. It is fascinating to me that in our culture there are a lot of people, like 4 million people almost, are considered preppers, that we have that many people who are preparing for something that is coming, preparing for the worst to happen. It got me thinking as I was reading through Ezra chapter 8, and there's this story of a fast that Ezra calls. As Ezra has been given the opportunity by the king of Persia to go back to Jerusalem and to reestablish the temple, he's going to lead a wave of people back into Israel who had been taken into captivity. And as he comes back into Israel, he gets ready for the journey, and Ezra realizes that they're about to take a multi-day journey with an entire congregation of people with zero guard, with zero protection, with no weapons, presumably. And Ezra starts to think, what might happen on this journey? And so as I'm going to read in just a second, I think it's fascinating that Ezra starts to look ahead. And here's the balance I think that we have. We do know that things can happen that are bad. We do know that there could be challenges that we all face. We do know that there could be things in our future that could cause us to struggle, that might be difficult. Absolutely. But what I think is beautiful about Ezra's story is that Ezra is seeing the next few days of journey and of travel. And yes, there are potential dangers. But as he looks ahead, it is the beauty of what that journey is going to lead to. It is the people of Israel getting back into the land of Israel. It is the reestablishment of God's people in God's land that he gave to them. This is the beautiful end of the story. And it's not just, I don't believe that Ezra wants to make sure that the people are protected on the journey. I also believe that there's part of this that Ezra wants to make sure that they get back to the good things that journey is leading to. This isn't just about the apocalypse happening and being prepared for something tragic. This is about making sure that we get to the good things that God has planned and provided for us. So let me read Ezra chapter 8, because Ezra is going to call a fast in chapter 8. He says this, starting in verse 21. Then I proclaimed a fast at the river Ahava, that we might deny ourselves before God, to seek from him a safe journey for ourselves, our children, and all our possession. Now look what Ezra says in verse 22. For I was ashamed to ask the king for a band of soldiers and a cavalry to protect us against the enemy on our way, since we had told the king that the hand of our God is gracious to all who seek him, but his power and his wrath are against all who forsake him. So we fasted and petitioned our God for this, and he listened to our entreaty. I think it's so beautiful, right? So what happens in Ezra's life here is this. Ezra gathers the people, they're going to go back, and then he realizes, I've told the king that God works on behalf of those who seek him, that God works on behalf of, and God protects those who are doing things his way. But now I'm getting a little nervous because I didn't even think through the journey. Like, I love that Ezra said to the king, God's going to take care of us. But then before he takes that first step into the wilderness to get back to Israel, he realizes, I might need to think this thing through. And so it's not just that Ezra is afraid. It's that Ezra wants to make sure that his heart, his mind, the people's heart, the people's mind are in alignment with God's good grace and God's good will before they ever take a step on the journey that God has opened the door to. God made the king's heart allow them to go back. God moved heaven and earth to allow Israel to begin to resettle in the land of Israel. This is not something that just happened by happenstance. This is providence. But yet, even in the moment when providence opened a door, Ezra realizes we need to make sure that our mind and our heart are aligned with God's ways. And so he says, we're going to fast. We're going to call a fast of all the people who are going back. We're going to deny ourselves. We're going to seek the face of God so that when we are on our journey, we have the confident assurance that we have come into God's presence humbly and that we will be protected on this journey fully, and that as we come back into Israel, everything that we undertake will be blessed by the sovereign hand of the one who opened this door in the first place. As we open 2025 with a fast, let me just present this to you. We have opened this not just because bad things might happen. We have opened this year with a fast because I want to reach every good and beautiful gift that God has for me in 2025. I want to prepare my journey, prepare my heart, prepare my mind, prepare my eyes, prepare my mouth, prepare my life, prepare our church for every good thing that God is leading us into, because I believe God is opening doors for you and your family and me and my family and us and our church and this nation and this world in this year. It might mean that we walk through some wilderness areas where enemies want to gather around, want to attack us. But when we come near to God at the beginning of the year and say, we're setting aside some things that we might walk under your protection, that we might be aligned with your pathway, the beauty of what happens is that we have the opportunity to walk in confident assurance through every difficulty, through every toil, through every snare, through every attack, because we have set aside a moment to say, God, before we ever walk out this journey, we want your protection for us. We want your will for us. We are aligning our life with your will for our lives. Read through Ezra 8. It's a beautiful passage. The whole book of Ezra is unique, but that's another beautiful example of a fast that God has allowed his people to call. And it's not a private fast. Jesus talked about private fasts. Ezra looked at the people and said, we're all doing it. This isn't about you doing it and washing your face. This is about me calling a public fast, because where we want to get to is worth us taking some time to say, God, what do we need to purge? What do we need to get rid of? What do we need to repent of? How do we need to establish our steps, our order, our mind, and our hearts so that we can walk under your protection into the places that you have for us? So as you pray today, as you fast today, make sure that that's in your mind. God, I'm not just fasting to prepare for the worst. I'm fasting because I want to see the best. I'm not just fasting because enemies might come against me. I'm fasting because you've opened a door in the future for me, my family, my church, my life to be blessed in a unique way and to recover and reclaim some things that maybe those enemies have tried to take from us. I hope that your day is going well. I hope your fast is going well. Be strong, be vigilant, be courageous. God has good things prepped for you. God has good things planned for you. What you have set aside, don't grow weary of walking out. All right, blessings, church. I love you.